Hey everybody.
Hi.
Welcome back to Desert Streaming.
Yes, welcome back.
Hey Katie.
Hi, Marco.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing really well.
Yeah. Marco's been having a really good day, which has been great to see. He had a little meltdown right before we hit record.
Marco had his weekly meltdown.
Yeah, he schedules. He pencils it in. It's cathartic. It's postmodern.
You deserve a meltdown once a week.
Yeah, guys, give yourself a chance to relax.
To melt.
Yeah, come on. It's not a rat race.
Mm-mm.
It's a beautiful journey unto wholeness.
No, I was setting up this podcast and, we're in our little kitchenette and
Clearly.
and there was water everywhere and all over me. And so
He was very upset. It was actually really offsetting for me. And that's what this podcast...
please. You're like, that is what did you say? That's a big emotional
I said it was an oversized response to a small thing. Which is good. I'm just bringing some objectivity to your subjective mess. You're welcome.
Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome.
Speaking of
Subjective messes. Which is the human existence, yes.
Today we're talking about, we're going to go into a little bit of a segment on relationships.
Ooh.
Because, it's February.
Ooh.
And everybody knows what that means.
Love.
It's the love month.
It's the month of love.
It's the month of Cupid.
Ooh,
Watch
yes.
out. You just may get...
Pew.
So, interestingly, next week, which is Valentine's Day, next
Yes.
Wednesday is also
Yes.
Ash Wednesday.
Oh, so romantic. What a romantic
So
little
you
pairing.
can't eat if you're...
Yeah, don't.
Cancel that date.
Go on the 13th.
Don't go to that steakhouse.
Yeah, and it's like Lent, so you can't probably be chowing down anyway. So you really do need to celebrate on the 13th.
With
Oh, Fat Tuesday.
I mean, you could make a date work on Ash Wednesday. Just can't eat meat.
And you can't really be joyous.
Do you have to be mad?
Like from ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Remember, man, that thou art dust.
You get the candy hearts, but you just change it to ashes to ashes, number sign, so it's cuter.
Oh, so today we wanted to talk about how we're made for relationship, and depending on our state in life, is the degree in which we'll enter into our ability to enter into relationships. Gosh, how do I phrase this?
I don't know. Podcast listeners, I too don't know what that means. I too am wondering.
We're all leaving this podcast more confused than when we came. Desert Streaming.
That's why our latest YouTube video had 55
Yes.
views. So thank you, the 55
Yes,
faithful
thank
ones.
you, 55.
Thank you. Let's hit those triple digits.
I'm pretty sure a couple of you watched that video 20 times.
I don't think there's 55 people who've watched it. I'm convinced of that.
Can I gently remind each of you to
please, but do it
follow
gently.
to follow us
Yes.
and to like us.
Yeah, like us, please.
Yes. Right?
Yeah, please like us. I mean, I don't want you to dislike us, and if you can make that known with the thumbs up on YouTube.
Yeah, the bell. I think there's a bell.
A bell.
A thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Share it with your friends.
Oh,
we know
yes.
you have friends that need this.
Yeah, this is so edifying. We'll get so much from it. Clearly.
We're very self-serious here.
Very serious.
So, Katie.
Yeah, Marco.
This month, the month of Valentine's Day
Of love, yeah.
and the month of love, and I'm sorry, I feel like you're looking at me.
Well, no, Marco told me I couldn't look up because of my glasses and the light. So,
But then I feel like
I don't know what to look at.
I feel like I'm not looking.
Well, this was probably what Marco's first few dates looked like when he got back in the game. So we're talking about relationships and how we're made for them. And Marco started off like this.
I was
Hey,
like,
Marco.
Hey,
No eye
good to have you.
contact. So we're just getting a taste of what relationships can look like if you're rusty.
Katie, I want to hear about, you just recently gave a talk at KU.
I did. Yes, the St. Lawrence Center, not The
No.
whole, yeah, that sounds so grand. And it was like 20 kind of disinterested 19-year-olds at the St. Lawrence Center, but it was great.
How was it? Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was good. So we talked about, well, we sort of kind of covered the gamut of things that I'm probably not so qualified to really go deep about. So we talked about the gift, using, John Paul II gift, chastity, and then sort of trying to disavow this idea of LGBTQ Christians in light of this understanding of being chaste and being a gift. So it was good. I mean,
Is the language of gift nude for them?
Probably not, but I think to make it so explicit as you're a gift to the other, so not just sort of the generic compliment like, oh, you're so great, thanks for being a gift, which is nice, sure, but probably wouldn't be uniquely,
right.
John Paul II. But the idea that the gift is always to the other, and being chaste is kind of becoming whole, so you can be for the other, I think was new. And also I'm, living waters through and through. So my authority is not scholarship, but the fact that I work through those things. And so I was, open about my own sort of struggles in that area. And that probably was very new for them and probably a little uncomfortable, because you're supposed to have them like chat. So you talk a little bit and they're supposed to like turn to their partner and talk, but it's like, what are some barriers for your chastity? As they're eating like nachos. So I don't think they were used to going deep and not in a setting like that. So I think it was probably a bit of a
Culture shock
for both of us.
Because that's so our world.
Yeah, it is our world. And I'm not going to not do that. And, that's what you're going to get if you ask me to speak, which is very rare. So, it's not like I don't think I'll run into this issue a lot. But but it was good. I'm glad I did it.
So let's go more into this idea of gift. Yeah. So it's not just like, oh, you're really great, thanks for being great, never change, kind of like the typical yearbook signs.
Yes.
But it's more about I'm made to be a gift giver and a gift receiver. Can you elucidate that a little bit more?
Can I elucidate the theology of gift?
Can you say more, please?
I'm at a loss.
Do you have anything else to say?
Are you sure? I mean, I do think, because like your gift is such a term that probably Christians use more than secular people. But I mean, that's because it's.
Maybe.
I don't really know. I mean, I guess in my secular jobs, I was never called a gift, but that could be for a plethora.
Katie
of
worked at a
reasons.
liquor store.
Yeah. If someone would come in buying their cheap gin, I'm like, thank you for
I'm just
being
kidding.
a
She never
gift.
worked at a liquor store.
I kind of would, though.
And no shame to you if you do work at a liquor store.
I would maybe like to.
We both go to liquor stores.
So yes, we're aware. But it is, I think it's what I already said, so I'll repeat myself. But I think it is the gift is to the other in the context of hopefully increasingly free offerings of yourself to the other, because their complementarity, their difference is inciting some life in you. You see something in them that's not in you, but something that reminds them, reminds you of the Imago Dei in some way. And so that's how we sort of become whole. That's how you become chaste, is in these relationships with the other, where you're increasingly selfless and able to objectively see the good of the other in those relationships. So I think we often look at that, well, and it's most kind of clear in marriage, right? So marriage being, this is like this relationship where I am for the other in really deep, kind of hard ways, but ways that we really become chaste as we live our lives together. So I think people see that in marriage. As a single person, that does look a little different, because I love TOB, and I probably have talked about this before, but sometimes when you're not married, the theology of the body and the emphasis of marriage and what that means, it's like, well, what does it mean to be a gift as a single person?
Right.
And I don't know if I don't think there's a pat answer there, because you are for your spouse in a way that you would not be for a friend, and even, people who are, clergymen, priests, sisters, they're married to the church. So they actually do have sort of a marriage to her, the church, that a single person who wants to get married to like a person like doesn't have that. I mean, we're all the bride of Christ, so in some way. But yeah, I think that there's like a tornado. Sorry, things are moving.
We're fine.
Yeah, we're fine. We keep on going. We're consummate professionals. We never stop. But I mean, I think as a single person, that is it. It can become so abstract that it means nothing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we'll just be for your male friends. And it's like, okay. And I'm 36, so I increasingly have less and less male friends. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like 36 kind of hanging out with 40-year-old guys all the time. So it's something I'm trying to figure out. What does that mean to be a gift? And if my chastity, if I become more chaste by learning to offer that well, and life being sparked in me from the other that I won't get from my same gender friends.
Right.
I need to figure out how to work that out. And I do not have an answer for that because I don't know.
Well, let's talk more about that, because I think one of the hallmarks of Living Waters is that your dad has really utilized John Paul II's language of gift, which is like really cool. Oh, that door just opened. That's totally fine. It was really kind of the first time that I encountered that language when I came to a Living Waters training.
So you weren't familiar with it.
I'm familiar with John Paul using it, but I never appropriated it to my own life.
Yeah, and I think
in
that's
a personal way.
Probably common for sort of serious Christians, particularly Catholics, who would be more familiar with theology of the body as like a term that has almost no personal resonance.
Well, because I mean, for my SSA stuff, I always felt like, well, TOB is really not for me because I don't really like Eden. I don't do well with
Adam
women.
and Eve aren't these like, that's the idealized relationship. It's like, oh no, I just don't really engage that way. So this just isn't for me.
And then your dad was like, well, no.
Right, which is, again, my favorite word. That's like untenable as a Christian to be like, well, no, yes, Adam and Eve, yes.
Right.
Of course.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, it's like they're the, everyone's parents in some way.
Yeah.
In the fall, we clearly inherited that from them, so it would make sense that we would inherit the good from them. But then we kind of just opt out because of whatever in us makes the other relationship with them either not desirable or it just doesn't happen. But we can opt out.
Yeah. But I think the whole language of becoming a better gift. So we are gifts just by nature of being man and woman, and our bodies speak of that. Our bodies speak of gift giving, gift receiving. That's just in our biology. It's threaded in our being. But then like growing to be better gifts, like how can I be more attuned to those around me, both my brothers and women, my sisters. So like females, but it seems that then you have this desire, this aching desire to actually grow in relationship with a person of the opposite sex, and yet what do you do when you don't see a lot of things happening in that regard?
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good question. I remember when I started trying to date, I think it would be too overreaching to be like when I started dating, because I really couldn't get beyond just mere meeting with women, and then there was like, oh, it's like nothing is there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like very little was it me. It was more so the women.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay, guys, but
he's married now. He did find.
But seriously, like it's kind of hard to be like, okay, well, I'm giving my gift, and I think arguably it's harder for women than it is for men.
Sure.
Because men, we have like this. The ball's in our court, so to speak, to activate and to pursue. I think that needs to be said.
Yes.
Like in the whole gift giving, we as men have a wonderful potential and a privilege to pursue women.
And a responsibility.
And a responsibility.
To do so,
yeah. John Paul II would use the language that the men are the guardian of the reciprocity of the gift. And I think a part of that, the guardian of the reciprocity of the gift, and a part of that is, I would say, pursuing woman, and securing her in her beauty and her goodness, and reminding her of that in various ways. Obviously, in whatever's appropriate, as a coworker, as a sister, as a mom, as a girlfriend, as an exclusive romantic relationship. All of the above are fair game as guardians of the reciprocity of the gift. Now, of course, I think John Paul II is speaking like par excellence about a man and woman in an intimate union. But I think that kind of bridges over into all relationships.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
And so I think the question is, well, then how do you continue to be a good gift when your gift is kind of frustrated, or you're not being received, or you're kind of deactivated, or if you're a woman and no one's pursuing you, like, what do you do? And I think
that's a great question. I'm pins and needles.
I don't. It's not like, and I have an answer.
Exactly.
I'm just like leading up to it.
No pat answer to that.
But I think my heart is for all of our listeners and the people in our world. It's like we need to, especially the men. I'm speaking more to the men. Maybe you can speak to the women.
To the women after.
But for the men, it's like you need to activate.
Yeah, amen.
You really need to activate, and you need to, I think, calibrate your. I would say we have been deformed by pornography.
Yeah.
We need to calibrate with a realistic vision of true love and true beauty. You know, I encounter so many men who won't settle because, you know, it's like they're so fixated on the attraction piece for them, which is important, but it's not. It's as if it's almost they're splitting off in a way in which they're discounting all of the amazing qualities of woman.
Yeah.
And they're not calibrated in that regard.
And I would say it's so immature.
Yeah.
I mean, attraction of course matters, and physical attraction matters, but you know, I get a 14-year-old sort of all hormones sort of being driven to and fro, but as an adult man, attraction you would hope would be more than skin deep, right?
Exactly.
There would be a more holistic understanding of a person that would just come with time and maturity and integration. And so when that's sort of, you know, my big thing that's somewhat controversial is I really dislike or find a bit hard to swallow when men sort of, you know, especially when they get engaged or they get married, and the first thing they note about their fiance or wife is that they're hot. Like, that to me is so superficial. Hot means you're physically, your physicality incite something in me, right? It doesn't even mean, oh, you're beautiful. Beautiful seems more encompassing. It's hot. You don't really have a hot personality.
Right.
You have a hot body or a hot face. And so to me, it's probably an immaturity, probably stunted by pornography. Yeah. And, you know, maybe relationships, but relationships that were maybe more sexual than, you know, relational. But yeah, to me, it's more immature. It's not that you can't be attracted, of course. Yeah. But if your attraction is physical primarily, good luck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you can grow into that. I mean, you can be a guy who's like, oh, she's hot, and then grow to, you know, love her more than that. I'm not saying that. Yeah. But to me, that's not the most kind of convincing of a reason why.
I agree. And I think guys
and language matters. Yeah.
Yeah. And guys need to give it more time. Like, I want to grow to know a woman. I'm convinced that a man grows in attraction to woman as he comes to know her.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
duh.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Right.
That even if it's like not high octane at first, I think that's kind of normal. Yeah. It's like, I don't even know her.
Right.
So like, I want to come to know her.
Yes.
I want to take her out to eat. I want to know about her life.
Yeah.
So I just want our guys who are listening to do that more.
Yeah, amen.
Like, you know, pursue the women in your world and say like, hey, I just want to get to know you. And it's not like you're signing on the dotted line or anything, but you're cultivating, I think, a great call that all of us men have a responsibility to activate in.
Amen.
To pursue women. Yeah. You know? So yeah, I also think too, there's just like a general men are just disempowered on some levels. Yes. And maybe it is the pornography thing, especially if you can't like kick the habit.
Absolutely.
You probably feel really quite disempowered. Get some help, you know, like come to Living Waters.
Amen.
Join an online cross current group. We have online stuff that'll help you. Like do something that will actually free you to be a gift.
Yeah, like you may be disempowered, but you're not completely disempowered. So
exactly.
Take that move to kind of ask others to come alongside you to become more empowered.
Right.
Yeah. Not just victimize solely, but still with some autonomy left.
Yeah. Wow. It's kind of interesting. Like, I was speaking to a good friend of mine who's a priest, and he's retired. And I was asking him, like, how's he doing in retirement? He's like, yeah, it's great. I love retirement. It's not easy. I mean, it's easy for me to retire. He's not like one of those people that need like a coach to.
Sure.
What do I do in my retirement?
My free time. What do I do?
Golf is too overwhelming. But he's like, I miss the sort of companionship of marriage, like, because as a priest, he's like, I'm really feeling the ache of, it would be so beautiful to be
it's beautiful
in like a companionship relationship, you know,
for sure.
And that I have to like die to that because I'm an activated priest, but I'm retired, you know, and I just think about so many of our people who are so fixated on trying to maybe do good things, like to be abstinent or to stay free from sexual sin and whatnot, but they forget to activate in the gift.
Yeah, amen.
You know, they forget, and not to say that it's what this priest needs to go get married now. That's not the point. No. But the point is saying that there is a desire for us to have just good companionship. Mm-hmm. And for you men, you actually, men free to marry, you have a great gift in that you can pursue. Yeah. So I just want to encourage that. And you know what? When you're rejected, then you get back up.
Yeah. Sure.
You know? It's like, okay, it's not the end of the world. It's difficult. It can be hard.
Yeah.
And it could be a little difficult to say, okay, like, you know, the lies come in of maybe
sure.
I'm not a gift, maybe I'm undesirable, all of that. And it's like, this is when we need spirit-filled Christians to kind of rouse us. Like, no, come on. Like, maybe she wasn't a good fit. Or
it's like, or she's just not into you.
She's not into you. That's okay.
You can live with that. I liken it as someone who is single. Like the sort of when you get rejected, like, you know, in your attempts relationship, that's like an acute pain. Mm-hmm. But there is a chronic accusation of not being a gift when you're single that I think is the idea that if we are a gift and we're made for a relationship and we're freed for it, that when you're not actively pursuing it, there is some latent thing there that's maybe not the the acute piercing of rejection, but like, I'm not a good enough gift, right? I'm not trying to simplify or reduce it, but that would be for many people, men and women, a reason why they're single is this, like, I'm not a good gift. And that's just a chronic pain. So maybe take a few, few stabs till you get it, then kind of lingering in sort of the malaise of, well, I'm just not a good gift, so I'm not going to pursue. Yeah. Or for women, again, I think speaking to why it maybe is a bit more difficult in that, I'm not a good gift and no one's pursuing me. And what actions can I take? So I'll kind of speak to the women. No, I mean, I would say, it does, for women kind of needing to be secured and known in relationship, as a need for all, but especially for women. And that's why men are the guardian of the reciprocity, because, we need to feel safe. We need to feel protected to, respond. And for me as a single person, I do think really, of course, like my relationship with Jesus and what that says about my gift, like, well, I can be secured in his love for me, and not in a way that's like, oh, Jesus is my husband. I actually am not that comfortable. Like I think I said it at the training, I'm not that comfortable with Jesus being my husband or my lover. Like that's not language I use. I don't particularly like it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just don't like it. But like, I do think he's like my best friend, and I think he sees me, and I know he created me, and so he can call me good. And so that does something. So while there is an ache of singleness, and I would bring that before the Lord, because like, I'm not a retired priest, but I go home every night and it's kind of just me. Like I kind of actually relate to that. I'm not like young 20s anymore. So I'm not necessarily wanting romance. Like I'm not longing for this whirlwind romance. I want the hot guy to pursue me. It's more like, I would like a companion too. Like that's an ache there. Like no one's asking me about my day when I come home, or no one's picking me up from the airport after a trip. Like, not to be melodramatic, because it's really not this like deep pain all the time, but it's something there. And so like I have to learn to bring that before the Lord and his seeing me and him being like, you know, in a very, I don't want to be so corny, but it's like, oh, well, he cares how my day is. Like I actually can be with him with all these things I have. There is something deep that I get from that, which doesn't actually dull the pain. That's what like TV does for me, and like TikTok and food can dull it. It actually just like cleanses it. So it's something that I can bear. And like as a Christian, it's like, well, we bear wounds. If this is my little one, for me, it is singleness. It's maybe not for everyone. It's like I can get something deeper met in him, so I can have this wound, but the cleanse wound before him doesn't threaten my understanding of myself as a gift. Yeah. It's mysterious, I guess, but it's like, no, I'm not getting any less and less single as I get older, right? I'm getting more and more single, but I don't feel the same approach, like reproach anymore, because it's like Jesus is solidifying something in me in my kind of time before him. And so I still have my pain, but it's not the enemy's accusation, like the spirit of death, like, well, you're never going to get married because you're not good enough. It's just kind of like, oh, this hurts, Lord, but I'm not going to read into it. Like, I don't need to read this wound that much. For me, reading the wound of my singleness gets me into my head of like, oh, if I only look like this, if I only did this, that to me isn't helpful. But I can be like, oh, this is hard, Lord. I'm going to be before you. And then I'm a little clearer and cleaner for the men in my life who I do want to be able to see them, and not through the lens of all men are, you know, kind of gross, superficial pigs who aren't into me, right? Like that could be maybe my thing. And so, yeah, there's something simple there. I think women have to own to needing to make sure we're not just looking to men to secure us, because marriage isn't the answer to that. Yeah. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm kind of insecure and I don't feel like I'm a good gift, and then I get married and then I feel like a good gift. I know in my times with like weird relationships I've had, sure, they probably weren't the greatest guys, and so they weren't the most securing, but it actually does bring up all your insecurities. So it's not the magic answer, and so you stay fresh before him. I think it's good to have male friendships, like working with you, having you as a friend is really helpful, because there is something sparked in good male relations. And I just like get something really dynamic with good relationship with men, even if it's not romantic. It does, it kind of keeps you hopeful. Again, to me, it's a mystery. I don't know what it is, but there's something that I can feed on with like, oh, that guy was so good and he saw me and he imparted life. Maybe it was a kind word, but maybe it was just a genuine engagement of a guy who was just engaging with me and saw me well. Like that to me is like, okay, I can feed on that. Yeah. Like, yeah, that's beautiful. So I kind of think we're just responsible for the deep well that we are, and the mystery that we are even to ourselves. Like, keep it before the Lord. Know where you're tempted to read your wound in a way that's not helpful.
Yeah, like getting lost in it.
Yeah, you know? And then bring it to him. Like, you know, for you, it's like, oh, read your wound, because you would be one probably apt not to. Yeah, like, you'd be like, I'm fine. It's like, you're bleeding out. You're dead. You died. Doctor, can you read it? But for me, who's so introspective and is very aware of my wounds, there are times when the Lord is like, no, look at mine. Like, I love that. Like, I love like, oh, let's look at the Lord's. Like, okay, I can look at his, and he overcame that, and he still has his. And I love finding connection with the Lord in that. That's beautiful.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, mine is maybe a little more abstract, because it is abstract. I could like do online dating, but that's
is that like
a nightmare. Again, not because it's wrong or like, oh, online dating. I'm 36. Like, I did like eHarmony when I was like 24. Sweet. Past me. If only I knew. You know, and you're like, wow, everyone's so interested in me. It's like, what the heck? And now I'm 36 and I'm like, oh, all the 50-year-olds want 30-year-olds. So I've like aged out of like geriatrics. Truly. And I do think, and controversial, should I say?
Say it.
Well, I just think because men do have the initiative, and that is right. I mean, that is sort of the body speaks to the story of male initiative, female response. I'm not traditional, like I'm not always into traditional gender roles. That to me is a very important one. It seems natural. But because men do have that authority, and they actually do have far more sort of a natural instinct to initiate and be in relationship, that if they are of a certain age and that hasn't happened yet, that sometimes is some deficiency in them that would make them someone you wouldn't want to date unless that they got help.
Sure.
And women, sometimes women, I mean, we can be crazy. And I'm not saying like, oh, me, I'm still on the market. Like, what the heck? I'm not saying that, but I would say for women, sometimes it is simply no one's knocking on my door.
Yeah.
And so women who are single, it can get very weird. That's like my fear in life, is to be that weird single woman. I feared that when I was like a young kid. Don't know. We won't go there. But like women tend to be maybe sometimes a little more eligible at a certain age than the men who are single are.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a mirror you just don't want to see. You're like, I think that my match? It's like, oh, that probably could be my match, but that's hard for me.
Well, I think it's good to say, because in a way, like if we're saying that men need to like take responsibility.
Yes.
I think men, it's okay for men to face areas of their life that they need to like, okay, I need to refine there.
Exactly. Like you never really took responsibility.
Yeah.
So in some sense, you're a little boy.
Right.
With little boy expectations of romance, but you're a 66-year-old.
Right.
Who lives at home. Like, like not at your own home, your mother's home. So it's kind of like there is
like activate.
And if you haven't activated, grace you. Grace. But like shame. Online dating isn't always the most activating of places.
Absolutely,
so I just, sometimes it's just like, oh,
I agree with you,
I don't
Katie.
want that. And I do think in some ways, like, could I be more open? It's honestly almost so hard to say because it never happens. So it's not like I'm turning down people left and right. It's like, be more open. It's like, well, no, that just like doesn't really happen for me. So I guess I could be more open, but to whom? But I do kind of like, I have a full life in that I really like things. So like I'm really interested in like things like sports or reading or this or that. So it's not like I want companionship and I want to be for the other and I want to be refined in that. Like marriage seems very hard, but those who do it well are so refined by it. Like of course I want that. But I also do have a life that's not miserable. I'm not desolate. I have things that I like and I have good friends. And so it's not overwhelming. And so I'm not going to plunge head first if it's not a good fit. And I mean, I'm relatively intelligent. I'm intelligent. I'm relatively intelligent. Lord humbles me. But like I have integration. Like
absolutely.
I have some things, and so I would like a partner.
Yeah.
I don't want to pull someone up by their bullshit.
Yeah.
Like
you want someone equally yoked.
Straps. Yeah, exactly. And so that becomes harder because I'm just getting more and more yoked.
No, that's really well said, Katie. I feel like enough
So if
said.
you're interested, if you want to send me a headshot,
her cell phone number.
if you want a resume, like you can, I will sort through them. I mean, this is the point of this podcast, so I won't be alone on Valentine's
I
Day.
actually really appreciate the vulnerability, though, Katie, of kind of opening up and how you do it before the Lord, which I really appreciate. Like, I think your life is really dynamic and full, mainly because of the Lord, right? Like, Jesus is really good to you. You have really good parents too, so you're actually very normal.
And they're dynamic parents,
you know. So you're not like sulking. You're not a sulking.
No,
person.
I mean, but I would have been. No, but I actually am very much a sulking person.
Are you really?
That would be like that's my like Mr. Hyde. The Dr. Jekyll is sort of the dynamic one, and the Mr. Hyde is the sulker. But I would, because I think I was so, self-pity was so my thing. Like I've always been such a self-pitier that, I mean, who's self-piteous and who doesn't sulk? Like you're being self-piteous so you can sort of sulk and kind of skunk away, you know.
Has Living Waters helped you?
Absolutely. Living Waters really helped me, but I think Living Waters kind of helps you identify, oh, that's not good, right? We can so justify self-pity. So Living Waters was eye-opening, but it was staying in Living Waters and being a leader and really growing in maturity in a community that would, you know, of people who could kind of see the signs when you're not doing so well, help me learn to just like be like, no, I can't do that. Like I had to take responsibility too. I mean, women aren't just receivers. We have responsibility. We had autonomy. So I have to learn to cut that out. Like I have to learn to be like, you just can't give yourself that.
Right.
I don't really deserve to be self-piteous. I can be sad. I can be like, man, that stinks that that's not happening for me. But when you're self-piteous, there's no room for God in that sort of because your self-pity is because you deserve better, and there's an accusation there, and that's not helpful. So I am actually one very prone to sulking, but I try not to.
So Living Waters is really because
sure.
I mean, from my vantage point, it's like I don't see you as that, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but I think that's probably a testament to Living Waters
and parents who, my dad who's like,
I mean, your dad won't let you settle. Like your dad is
he
like
won't
really
let me just
good.
be a self in a way that's so helpful. It's not harsh. Some people would be like, oh, well, you need freedom. It's like, I have a lot of freedom to feel my emotions.
Yeah.
But the ones that are bad for me, like the ones that never have helped me, self-pity has never helped me.
Yeah.
It always makes me sadder and madder. It doesn't make me feel sad and mad, but I have a strength to work through it. It kind of weakens me in my sadness and my anger. It doesn't kind of cause me to want to go forward in it. So I try not to be, and Jesus does help. Like he really does.
Yeah.
It's not
like this weird mystical thing.
No, it's not. No, because I'm not. Cause I don't really like that.
That's not your thing. Yeah.
No, it's not a panacea, but it's like, well, time spent before the Lord, like actually before Him. If you're integrated, which is Living Waters helps you do that, then it matters. Then it goes deep because I'm integrated. So I'm not divided, and I have the spiritual side and then this other side. It's like I hope to be. I'm integrated enough that time spent before the Lord does really change me.
Yeah. I like what you said about marriage being sort of a refiner. I've experienced that just in my own.
Because you've been married for
1 year.
1 year, yeah.
Yep.
So
just 1 year.
The kind of crucible, like the highs and lows.
Exactly.
That's
and kind
fresh.
of the in the best sense, like a constant surveillance of the other. Like
Yes.
it just happens naturally,
For
you know.
sure, yeah.
So you don't have a lot of room to just kind of do your own stupid thing.
Yes.
You know, and I have appreciated that. Like I needed that.
It's good for you.
It's good for me. It's good that and it activates me.
Yes.
But it also challenges me
Sure.
in a way that I've never been challenged.
Absolutely.
You know, and then it also gives me more so, I think it gives me the gift of companionship.
Yeah.
You know, like going to bed and talking about our day and all of that, which is so beautiful. I'm just grateful because I wouldn't have the gift of Anya if I wasn't married, but I also wouldn't have the gift of being refined in ways that I definitely need to be refined in. It's kind of crazy. Like marriage in a way has brought a mirror to my face.
Wow.
Which just areas where I'm like, whoa, I'm like really ugly there. You know, like I lack compassion. I lack patience. All of those things that we just kind of know, but you think, okay, I've worked enough.
I'm doing better.
Yeah, I'm like pretty good.
I'm not that way.
And then you get married and it's like, oh, what? That is, you know.
That's so good. I mean, like, I could see why, like, part of me is like, that sounds awful. Like, you know, I mean, like, part of me is like, well, I don't really want that. Yeah. But that is how you get better.
It is.
But it is crazy because it's like home is where you don't have to do that anymore. Yeah. So, like, as a single person, it's like, okay, I'm going to be nice to Marco at work and I'm going to kind of hold those little things that make me mad. No, I don't really have that tension with you. But there are people sometimes that you're like, well, I'm going to be kind and gracious to you because it's work and it's a ministry.
Right.
But then you get home and my dog will like... My dog will be a dog, and I'm like, Daisy, stop it! And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's in me. I'm just letting it down because I'm at home, and the defenses are down, and marriage would be like that. And I do think about that. Yeah. The way I treat my dogs is like, would I be that harpy fishwife to my husband because I am impatient? You know, but I can see where that is. Oh my gosh, good it's so for you, but very challenging.
It's a challenge, yeah.
Wow.
But it's great. I mean, I feel like guys, I mean, just to end where we started, pursue, you know?
Amen.
You have nothing to lose and a bunch to gain. So
amen.
Yeah, I think
cosign.
The next episode we have a great guest with us. So let's talk a little bit more about her coming out of SSA and what that meant for her as a single person and then as a married person and just kind of all the intricacies of that. But I like this conversation. Let's keep it going.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Thanks, Katie.
Happy Valentine's Day. Go Chiefs. Go Chiefs. I waited till the end. I waited till the end. Super Bowl.
We're trying to get somebody to sponsor Katie's Chief paraphernalia.
So I could have a Chiefs shirt or sweatshirt every episode. Yeah. Because we're going back to back.
Harrison Butker. Are you one of our 55 viewers? You are.
If you know Harrison Butker, or if you know any Chief, anyone tangentially to the Chiefs, please, we want swag. We want guests. I mean, I love the Chiefs.
Oh, Katie.
They're a joy.
Katie
I love
loves
them.
the Chiefs.
Like I love them.
Yes.
It's a joy. They bring me joy, and they're gonna go back to back. Super Bowl champs, dynasty solidified. Oh, I don't know if we're allowed to do that. We won't do the chop. It's controversial. But yeah, I love them. So if you know anyone,
One day we're gonna have
Harrison Butker
and Patrick Mahomes.
Oh,
Okay, I had a dream. I just want to end with this. The other day, I had a dream.
he had a dream.
I had a dream. It was Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce,
Yes.
Taylor Swift, and Brittany Mahomes. And I was meeting outside of a church.
Wow.
And they were like, we want to become Christians. I mean, I'm sure
Yes.
they're Christians, but
Patrick
this,
is.
but this was in the dream. And so
devout.
I was leading them into the church.
Oh, where was I? Something. No, I want everyone to be saved. I want the salvation of all souls.
You would be the leader, Katie.
But
I don't know
if-
why I was even in
if
this dream.
Marco Casanova is the one who brings.
I was like leading them, and they were like bowing and going into their places.
That,
I was
bowing
like,
to
"Whoa."
who? Bowing to who?
To the Lord.
Okay, thank you. Clarify. But if Marco is the one who gets to do that, Lord,
Lord,
I can take many things.
I can't take that
But
one.
if Marco's like, oh wait, you want to be a Christian? Sure, we love you, Marco. You're great. Blah blah blah. I could. That's it. I don't think there's. I think there's nothing left. There's no consolation great enough for that.
That's
So
so
I better.
fun.
I better have been like.
I was so pumped.
I mean,
it was amazing.
yeah, let's go, Lord. But I want to be there. And you don't need to be.
Yeah, I really don't. Maybe we'll get them all in Living Waters one day.
Oh yes, yes, please.
Come on.
Come on, church.
T Swift is probably going to move to Kansas City at some point.
Yes. Come on. We will if Travis leaves. Once he retires, then he might not stay. But we never know. We don't get to
I mean, who wouldn't stay in Kansas City?
I mean, come on. Come on. We got barbecue.
Have you been to Topeka? Sorry, I'm sorry.
We love Topeka.
We love you, Topeka.
We love you, Topeka. Peace out.
Thanks for joining.